Just thinking of all the things I'm going to do about it.
From The Devil All the Time to The Ritual, Netflix is really amping up its creep game for those of us who need some distractions from real-life horrors. But one new drama stands out, especially for fans of the 1975 psychological suspense film One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. We're talking about Ratched, which is flying to the Netflix Nest next month. So today, here's everything you need to know about the next big show, Ratched. But first, a simple reminder on how to enter our brand new giveaway. We will be giving away either an iPhone X Max, the new iPad mini, or a MacBook Pro. It's all your choice. So be sure to leave a like, comment the keyword, subscribe, and turn on notifications to enter the giveaway. It's really that simple. First, the release date. According to Netflix, Ratched will premiere on September 18th. The synopsis for the series reads, a young nurse at a mental institution becomes jaded and bitter before turning into a full-fledged monster to her patients. For fans of the hospital horror/psychological drama genre, September 18th just can't come quickly enough. Next is that Ratched is a sequel. In case you missed it, Ratched is a sequel to the critically acclaimed 1975 film called One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which follows the story of a convict who does everything so he can be transferred to a mental institution, thinking it would give him an easier time. But he quickly realizes that prison was so much better than any institution run by Mildred Ratched, the creepy, sadistic, homicidal nurse who uses her position to intimidate all the residents in her hospital. Ratched is one of the most iconic fictional villains of all time, right up there with Darth Vader and Count Olaf. She's a bit ahead of our time though, so the sequel will be a great introduction for millennials and Zoomers alike into this legendary villainous character. The series is set around 20 years before the events on One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, so we will actually get to see the beginnings of Mildred Ratched's story, and what exactly transformed her from being an optimistic, bright-eyed health worker into a jaded, murderous, crazed villain. Next are the deeper roots. If you really want to dig deeper into the origins of Ratched, you gotta go as far back as the novel that inspired one of the greatest films of all time, which is a 1962 novel written by Ken Kesey. It was set in an Oregon psychiatric hospital and was included in Time magazine's list of the 100 best English-language novels from 1923 to 2005. This rich history is why there's a lot of pressure for the Netflix series to deliver well, although we're pretty sure it will. Next is Ryan Murphy's Golden Touch. You know why we're almost certain the series will be a hit even though we haven't seen a single episode yet? Because it's got the Midas touch from Ryan Murphy, who you probably know from his work on Glee, Scream Queens, and Netflix original Pose. He's also a veteran in making audiences feel unsettled and disturbed, which he proved in the making of American Horror Story. He's gonna be working on an original script by upcoming writer Evan Romansky, who is quite obsessed with digging deeper into the makings of an antagonist as iconic as Nurse Ratched. So, the pressure is on. Although Murphy could literally do no wrong in our eyes, he admitted that Ratched was quite a challenge for him. He told Vanity Fair that he kind of felt scared because it was very daunting to take on one of these great mythological characters. But if there's one thing assuring him that the series will be successful, is the fact that he's once again working with his favorite collaborator and most frequent muse, Sarah Paulson, who is stepping up for the role of Nurse Mildred Ratched herself. In case you forgot, Paulson won an Emmy in 2016 for her role as Marcia Clark on American Crime Story. So, Ratched? Totally in her league. Next is A Tall Order. Even though Murphy couldn't think of anyone else better to play the marquee role, he made it very clear to Paulson that she had to go above and beyond the depths of her comfort zone for this career-making role. He warned Paulson that she would have to do some, quote, real Walter White type stuff, and commit herself to a dark psychological place, depraved on-screen acts, and no days off in terms of characterization. So for the duration of the filming of the show, Paulson literally has to wake up as Mildred Ratched and go to sleep in her character too. Next, challenge accepted. Even though the idea of stepping into the shoes of a homicidal, maniacal nurse is terrifying for anybody, Paulson said it was a thrill to give texture and depth to one of film's most mysterious villains. She said she hated the character of Ratched very, very deeply when she watched Louise Fletcher's original version, which is why she found it exciting to finally understand the character's traumatic upbringing that caused her the slow but intense descent into madness. While playing the character, Paulson said she found profound sympathy for the nurse. What's even more interesting is Paulson's certainty that after seeing the series, we all would have the same understanding of one of the most feared characters of all time. She said, quote, by the time you get to the end of the first season, you will not wonder how and why Mildred became the way she did. You may question her actions, you may have judgment about it, but you will understand it. It will make sense to you. Sounds pretty promising, right? How about an unlikely relationship? If someone tells you they identify with Nurse Ratched, your first reaction might be to run as fast as you can. But it's a pretty good thing to hear from the actress playing the character. You already know she's gonna do a great job portraying the role if she relates to the character this much. More than anything, Sarah said she feels connected with the loneliness of the character. She told Vanity Fair, quote, "I think ultimately at the end of the day, that is sort of what drives Mildred, a pursuit of survival and finding some sense of home. Even though the methods she chooses to achieve that internal security are somewhat questionable, I would argue that she's doing them with a potentially selfish need, but a survival need nevertheless. Sort of an animal need that blinds her to the inappropriateness of some actions." As crazy as it may sound, Paulson thinks that a lot of us are just like Nurse Mildred Ratched, deep down. After all, she said all of us are just trying to figure out how to survive our childhoods, our environments, and our circumstances. That does make a lot of sense, don't you think? Next is the director's goal. As for Murphy, all he really wants is to give some nuance to the character of Nurse Ratched, in an attempt to make people realize that no one in this world is born wicked. Murphy feels like Nurse Ratched has become sort of a shorthand for barbarism, almost like a catchphrase for any sort of institutional abuse of power. He said it was very interesting to try and create an emotional character from a reputation that's very cold and try to figure out every little detail about her childhood, her relationships, and even her sexuality. In a way, it's somewhat like taking the character apart instead of shutting her off as just plainly cruel and uncaring. Murphy added that his psychological horror show will be the performance of Sarah Paulson's life. So, we have a lot of things to look forward to. Netflix confirmed that season 1 of Ratched will have 8 episodes in total. We all know there's a lot to unpack about Mildred's story, but no need to worry that 8 episodes might not be enough, because a second season is coming right up. Netflix has already committed to 2 seasons of Ratched for a total of 18 episodes. It's kind of rare for a Netflix series to have the assurance of renewal, which is why we're thankful that Murphy's $300 million deal with Netflix includes at least 2 seasons of Ratched. Come September 18th, we can all start binge watching without fearing that the series might not get renewed. I know, Sense8 fans, I know. Next is a promising timeline. According to Murphy, they have already crafted a 4-season timeline for the entirety of Ratched's story to unfold. By season 4, the showrunners will touch upon the events of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, thus bringing the story full circle. Of course, we have an A-list casting. Emmy winner Sarah Paulson is just one of the Hollywood heavy hitters that will see action in the Netflix hit. She will be joined by Cynthia Nixon as political campaign manager Gwendolyn Briggs, Judy Davis as nurse Betsy Bucket, Sharon Stone as heiress Lenore Osgood, and John Brions as the experimental doctor Richard Hanover. We've also got Finn Wittrock as murderer Edmund Tollison, Charlie Carver as a hospital staff member Huck, and many other familiar faces teaming up to tell the one-of-a-kind story of Nurse Ratched. Now, what about character development? Murphy revealed that when he mapped out the 4-season origin arc for Ratched, she would have to face off against a different male adversary each season. If the haunting trailer for the series is enough clue, we already know Ratched is going to be relentless against every single one of these adversaries. Michael Douglas, producer, enough said. The American actor Michael Kirk Douglas is also involved in the production of the series, but not as an actor. The AFI Lifetime Achievement Awardee has signed on as a producer. It only makes sense because Douglas was also one of the producers of the original One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest film, having acquired the rights to Ken Kesey's novel from his father. Next is the age difference. Here's a bit of interesting trivia. Sarah Paulson is now 4 years older than when Louise Fletcher first stepped into the role of the old nurse Mildred Ratched. It will definitely be interesting to see what fresh takes Paulson can give the iconic character. We already know she won't be sporting the same huge hairdo, but we're guessing that that's not the only new life she will breathe into Ratched. Anyway, that wraps up the video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.